Ukraine peace deal edging closer, but thorny issues remain. Arab League calls for firm stance against Israel's Somaliland move. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. This is World Today. I'm Mohana Priya. US President Donald Trump said it could be clear within weeks if the war in Ukraine can end and flagged possible further talks with European leaders in Washington to push a peace deal. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said a 20-point peace plan is 90% agreed, while Trump said a security guarantee for Ukraine is nearly finalized. Trump added that several thorny issues, particularly related to territory, still needs to be resolved.
A terrific meeting. We discussed a lot of things. As you know, I had an excellent phone call with President Putin that lasted for over 2 hours. We discussed a lot of points, and I do think we're getting a lot closer, maybe very close. And our meeting was excellent. We covered, somebody would say 95%, I don't know what percent, but we have made a lot of progress on ending that war.
Meanwhile, Zelensky described his meeting in Florida as great.
Prosperity plan being finalized, and we also discussed the sequencing of the following actions. And we agree that security guarantees is the key milestone in achieving lasting peace, and our teams will continue working on all aspects. We also had a joint productive call with European leaders, like President Trump said already, and a lot of leaders, including NATO and the EU.
We're in final stages of talking. And
the Ukrainian and US teams could meet again as early as this week to finalize the remaining points in the peace plan. In addition, Zelensky said they agreed Trump would host Ukrainian and European leaders in Washington in January. In another development, Trump has congratulated the leaders of Thailand and Cambodia on a ceasefire agreed the previous day after weeks of border clashes that have killed dozens. In a post on his Truth Social platform, Trump called the eventual outcome as fast and decisive. He added that Washington, which has been involved in mediation efforts, along with China and Malaysia, was proud to help. The clashes were reignited early this month after a breakdown in a ceasefire that Trump and Prime Minister Dato' Sri Anwar Ibrahim had helped broker to halt a previous round of fighting. Thailand and Cambodia have disputed parts of their 817-kilometre land border for more than a century due to several areas that remain undemarcated. Meanwhile, residents and visitors in Thailand's capital voiced mixed reactions after the country agreed with Cambodia to an immediate ceasefire, ending nearly 20 days of deadly border clashes. While some welcomed the move as a step toward peace, others expressed deep skepticism based on past tensions between the two neighbours.
I'm not sure because Cambodia changed all the times. Change their man all the time, and they shoot Thailand like at the beginning. I think like this.
Actually, I just cross my finger that Cambodia should like the ceasefire, really ceasefire, not the same as the last time. As you may know, that the Thailand, we never started first. We try to protect our land.
Meanwhile, some visitors underscored that any war is not good for any country.
So what I think about this, I think that is terrible. It's not good. Any war is not good for us. So I don't like it, you know. War is never a good event, and this is definitely a first step to the peace. So I think everything is going very well.
China is willing to provide humanitarian assistance to Cambodia to help resettle displaced people in border areas. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi made the remarks during a meeting with Cambodian Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Prak Sokhonn. Following the signing of a joint statement agreeing to a ceasefire, the Cambodian and Thai foreign ministers are leading delegations meeting in Yunnan from 28th to 29th December at Wang's invitation. China has been closely following the tense situation on the Cambodia-Thailand border and remains committed to facilitating peace through talks. Wang said that China congratulates both sides on reaching the ceasefire agreement. Wang also said the ceasefire marks the start of peace building and urged both sides to move forward in a phased and measured manner. He said this approach would help achieve a lasting ceasefire, restore normal relations, rebuild trust and maintain peace and stability in the region. China supports ASEAN in playing its due role and stands ready to provide assistance to the ASEAN Observation Mission in monitoring the ceasefire. Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud said that Israel's recognition of the breakaway region of Somaliland is a threat to security and stability in the Horn of Africa and encourages secessionist groups. Addressing an emergency parliamentary session, Mohamud said that the move is tantamount to a blunt aggression against the sovereignty, independence and territorial integrity and the unity of the people of Somalia.
waxaan u sheegaynaa caalamka xadgudubka iyo isku dayga Netanyahu ee kala qaybinta jamhuuriyadda federaalka ah ee Soomaaliya inuu qatar ku yahay xasiloonida iyo deganaanshiyaha caalamka iyo midka gobolka.
He also warned Netanyahu against the transfer of its wars in West Asia to Somalia. He said Somalia will not allow military bases that are used to attack other countries and is ready to take part in the stabilization of the region and the world in general. Meanwhile, the Arab League called on the United Nations Security Council to take a firm stance against Israel's illegal recognition of Somaliland, warning that the move threatens international peace and security. The appeal came in a final statement issued by the Pan-Arab body after an emergency meeting in Cairo held at the level of permanent delegates. According to the statement, the meeting strongly condemned Israel's recognition of Somaliland, saying the move aims to advance unacceptable political, security and economic agendas. It affirmed its categorical rejection of any measures stemming from the recognition that could facilitate plans for the forced displacement of Palestinians or allow the use of northern Somali ports to establish military bases. The meeting also asked the Arab League Secretary-General to formally address the UN Secretary-General and the chairperson of the African Union Commission to urge them to take a firm position against Israel's move as a step that constitutes a threat to international peace and security. On a related note, the United Nations Security Council is set to hold an emergency session on Monday evening to discuss Israel's recognition of the Somaliland region as an independent country. The meeting will be convened under the agenda item titled Threats to International Peace and Security. The Council is also scheduled to hold a separate session on the situation in the occupied Golan Heights, including a briefing on the report of the United Nations Secretary-General regarding the international force operating in the area.
My Card bukan sekadar kad pengenalan, tetapi medium utama yang menghubungkan rakyat dengan pelbagai perkhidmatan kerajaan dan swasta. Banyak insentif kerajaan disalurkan melalui MyCard, daripada bantuan kebajikan, kemudahan kesihatan hinggalah pelbagai program rakyat. Inilah keistimewaan yang dimiliki oleh setiap warga negara Malaysia. Sila periksa keadaan MyCard anda. Sekiranya chip rosak, hilang atau MyCard sudah uzur, segera lakukan penggantian di Jabatan Pendaftaran Negara agar hak dan kemudahan anda sentiasa terjamin. Inilah komitmen madani dengan dokumen identiti yang sah, moden dan diyakini rakyat disantuni sebaiknya. MyCard, identiti anda, kebanggaan negara.
Hezbollah leader Naim Qassem said the moves to disarm the group in Lebanon are an Israeli-American plan, accusing Israel of failing to abide by a ceasefire agreement sealed last year.
تطلب حصرية السلاح في الوقت الذي تعتدي فيه إسرائيل وتدخل أمريكا في الوصاية على لبنان وتجرد لبنان من قوته، فمعناها أنكم لا تعملون لمصلحة لبنان وإنما تعملون لمصلحة ما تريده إسرائيل.
Despite a November 2024 ceasefire that was supposed to end the hostilities between Israel and Hezbollah, Israel has kept up strikes on Lebanon. According to the agreement, Hezbollah is required to pull its forces north of the Litani River and have its military infrastructure in the vacated area dismantled. Qassem said the deployment of the Lebanese army south of the Litani River is required only if Israel has adhered to its commitments to halting the aggression, withdrawing, releasing prisoners, and having reconstruction commence. He added that Israel is not implementing any of the steps of the agreement. Lebanon is no longer required to take any action on any level before the Israelis commit to what they are obligated to do. Gaza requires around 200,000 prefabricated housing units to meet the urgent humanitarian needs of displaced families and provide safer shelter amid harsh weather conditions. The Palestinian Government Operations Room said the current storm has flooded and destroyed thousands of tents across Gaza, further worsening the humanitarian emergency. It stressed that the severe weather has intensified the suffering of Palestinians living in fragile tents that offer minimal protection against rain and freezing temperatures. Partially destroyed homes have also collapsed, posing a direct threat to residents' lives amid a lack of safe alternatives for shelter. Humanitarian organizations are unable to meet the urgent needs of displaced persons due to severe shortages of supplies and ongoing restrictions imposed by Israel on aid entering the Strip. The Operations Room called on the United Nations and international organizations to pressure Israel to allow the immediate entry of prefabricated housing units and shelter supplies to alleviate the suffering of residents. In Khan Yunis, tents flapped under strong wind, hardly providing any shelter for the many Palestinians who are struggling to secure weak tarpaulin covers or sometimes fabric to protect them from the cold. Bad and wet weather is severely impacting the devastated war-torn enclave, leaving many struggling with water flooding their tents.
طارت الشوادر كلها هذه طارت وتمزعت الخيمة وهنا بنحاول نعمل إشي نستر حالنا.
كله خشب وقماش زي ما أنت شايف، يعني هاي صور عندك هنا كله قماش، كله قماش في قماش، هي اللي بنقدر إحنا نعمله بنعمله، هاي اللي بنقدر عليه. طبعا الحرب لها سنتين وشوية، قدر المستطاع كنا نلملم، هلقيت لا ضل فلوس ولا ضل خيام ولا ضل شوادر. الخيام انتقلت يمكن 6-7 مرات، يعني الخشب نفسه نخ مع المية والرطوبة والرمل ما ضلش شيء، الحمد لله أقل ريح كله وقع.
Violence in western and southern Sudan displaced more than 10,000 people within a 3-day period last week. This is according to figures released by the United Nations Migration Agency. Since April 2023, Sudan's regular army and the paramilitary rapid support forces have waged what the UN has called a war of atrocities, killing tens of thousands of people and uprooting more than 11 million. Between 25 and 26 December, attacks on the villages of Umbaru and Kernoi near Sudan's western border with Chad displaced more than 7,000 people. Between Christmas Eve and Friday, a further 3,100 people were displaced from the famine-stricken city of Kadugli in southern Kordofan, which has been under siege by paramilitary forces for over a year and a half. The conflict has created the world's largest hunger and displacement crisis. It has also effectively split Sudan in two, with the army controlling the north, east and centre, while the Rapid Support Forces dominates all 5 state capitals in Darfur and, with its allies, part of the south. Still ahead, more than a dozen dead in Mexico train derailment. Stay with us.
Padamkan komputer untuk lebih penjimatan.
A group of Japanese gathered in Tokyo to protest against the country's record defense budget plan and demand the government led by Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi to curb the military expansion. Japan's draft defense budget was set at a record 9.04 trillion yen for fiscal 2026. The figure exceeds the previous record initial budget of 8.7 trillion yen for the current fiscal 2025 starting in April. It is in line with Japan's defense build-up plan to allot about 43 trillion yen to defense outlays from fiscal 2023 to 2027. The protesters held banners and chanted slogans at downtown Tokyo, urging the government to adhere to its commitment to the pacifist constitution, which renounces the nation's right to engage in war or to resort to military force to resolve international conflicts. A demonstrator said that the government's military build-up and erroneous remarks regarding China have damaged the friendship between the two countries and indicated a worrying anti-China attitude. Now, a train carrying 250 people derailed partially in Mexico, killing at least 13 people and injuring 98. The train's locomotive left the tracks early during a trip in southern Oaxaca state. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said she had directed the Secretary of the Navy and other senior personnel to travel to the area and assist the families of those affected. The country's Attorney General's office said it is opening an investigation to determine the cause of the accident. The train runs between the Gulf of Mexico and the Pacific Ocean and carries both passengers and freight. The line was inaugurated in 2023 as a major infrastructure project under the then-President Andrés Manuel López Obrador to develop southeast Mexico. Rescue teams resumed the search for 4 Spanish nationals missing after a tourist boat sank in rough seas off Indonesia's Padar Island as tributes poured in from Spain's football community. The missing are Fernando Martin Carreras, a coach and former footballer, and 3 of his children. They were aboard the wooden boat at KM Putri Sakina when it sank late Friday on its way to Padar Island from Komodo Island in waters off Labuan Bajo. 7 people were rescued from the boat, including the missing children's mother and another child, as well as Indonesian crew members, including the captain and a local tour guide. On the second day of the operation, search and rescue teams recovered debris from the vessel about 5 nautical miles from the site of the sinking. The search has been hampered by strong currents, heavy rain, and waves reaching up to 1.5 meters. However, rescue teams said the efforts will continue despite the difficult weather conditions. At least 1 person is dead and another is injured after 2 helicopters collided mid-air before crashing to the ground in Hamilton, New Jersey. The Hamilton Police Department said it received a call about an aviation crash involving 2 helicopters near Hamilton Municipal Airport, where both aircraft crash-landed and one became engulfed in flames. Police said 1 person was confirmed dead while another suffered critical, life-threatening injuries. The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration said in a preliminary statement that an Enstrom F-28A helicopter and an Enstrom 2ATC helicopter collided mid-air near the airport with only the pilots on board each aircraft. The National Transportation Safety Board said it had opened an investigation and information on victims would be handled by local authorities. At least 6 people, including a 2-year-old girl, were killed after gunmen opened fire on a beachside boardwalk in southwestern Ecuador. Police said the attack happened in Puerto Lopez, a popular whale-watching destination. 3 others were wounded when assailants in a van and on motorcycles sprayed the area with gunfire before escaping. Police believe the shooting may be linked to internal disputes between criminal groups. The suspects remain at large. A Russian Soyuz rocket has successfully launched 3 Iranian satellites into orbit. Iran's ISNA news agency said the Zafar-2, Paya and Kausar satellites were sent up from the Rotokny Cosmodrome. Footage showed the satellites separating from the booster after reaching orbit. Russia's space agency Roscosmos confirmed the launch event went as planned. In total, the mission deployed more than 50 small satellites, including 4 built by Russian university students under an educational program. Next up in sports, Mahrez penalty sends Algeria into AFCON knockout rounds. We begin our sports segment with football. Riyad Mahrez scored a first-half penalty as Algeria booked their place in the knockout stages of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. Algeria beat Burkina Faso 1-0 in their Group E match in Rabat to move on to 6 points and secure top spot in the group. The decisive moment came just after the 20-minute mark when Ryan Ait Nouri was brought down in the box. Mahrez calmly converted the penalty. The result leaves Burkina Faso and Sudan on 3 points each, with only second place still up for grabs. Algeria will face already eliminated Equatorial Guinea in their final group game, while Burkina Faso meet Sudan. And in another AFCON clash, defending champions Ivory Coast were held to a 1-1 draw by Cameroon. Amad Diallo put Ivory Coast ahead early in the second half, scoring in the 51st minute. But Cameroon hit back just 5 minutes later through fullback Junior Chamedu, aided by a deflection. The draw at the Grand Stade Marrakech leaves both sides level on 4 points at the top of Group F. Mozambique sit third on 3 points, while Gabon were eliminated following their earlier defeat to Mozambique. Egypt brushed aside suggestions that they will roll into their final Group B game against Angola, relaxed after securing qualification to the knockout stages of the Africa Cup of Nations with a game to spare. Speaking in Agadir, Egypt coach Hossam Hassan said he views the match as an opportunity to maintain their momentum and make tactical adjustments. For Angola, the stakes are considerably higher as they require a victory to keep their hopes of reaching the last 16 alive. Head coach Patrice Baumel acknowledged the difficult turnaround his side faced, having only arrived in Agadir on Saturday following their previous match. Despite the fatigue, Baumel expressed confidence that his players could rise to the challenge and secure the win necessary to stay in competition.
We trained in the morning. We just played 2 days ago. So the main part of the work was to recover, because we didn't have a lot of time to prepare this game. We have still one session today and ready to play against the Pharaoh tomorrow.
Baumel dismissed suggestions that a potentially rotated Egyptian lineup would be any easier to face, noting the depth of talent available to Hassan from both European leagues and top domestic clubs like Al Ahly and Zamalek. Ousmane Dembele scooped the Best Men's Player accolade at the Dubai Globe Soccer Awards. The reigning Ballon d'Or winner beat out Kylian Mbappe, Rafinha, Vitinha and Lamine Yamal to the award. Bizarrely, tennis great Novak Djokovic took home the final prize of the night, with a 24-time Grand Slam champion receiving the inaugural Cristiano Ronaldo-inspired Globe Sports Award. Ronaldo, who presented Djokovic with the honour, had earlier won the Best Player in West Asia award. Meanwhile, Yamal claimed 3 prizes for Best Under-23 Player in La Liga, Best Overall Forward and the Maradona Award. PSG was named the best men's team and continued their domination at the ceremony, with Desiree Doué the best emerging player, Vitinha the best midfielder, Louis Campos best sporting director and Nasser Al-Khelaifi the best president. And moving on to tennis, Nick Kyrgios beat Aryna Sabalenka 6-3, 6-3 in a Battle of the Sexes exhibition match, billed as a modern take on Billie Jean King's famous victory over former Grand Slam winner Bobby Riggs more than 50 years ago. Playing in front of a sold-out crowd at Dubai's Coca-Cola Arena, Kyrgios negotiated the slightly smaller equalizer court on women's world number 1 Sabalenka's side to secure victory after a tight and entertaining contest played under modified rules. With a 1 serve per point rule in effect, both players faltered on their deliveries in crucial moments before Kyrgios broke for a 4-3 lead and went on to take the opening set. The maverick Australian was drenched in sweat and appeared out of breath in the second set after going 1-3 down, but he persevered to make it a 3-all after Belarusian Sabalenka sent a long shot. Kyrgios, who shortened the points with cheeky drop shots and used variations on his serve to good effect, pulled away to seal the win on serve before sharing a warm hug with Sabalenka at the net. In the era-defining 1973 encounter between Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs, King saw off her 55-year-old male opponent 6-4, 6-3, 6-3 in Houston. Meanwhile, Alex de Minaur has muscled up in a bid to bridge the gap on Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz, with the Australian aiming to be a disruptor to the pair's tennis dominance. The world number 7 is yet to beat either player and admits he has to find new weapons to challenge the Spaniard and Italian, who have shared the last 8 Grand Slam titles. In contrast, de Minaur is yet to go beyond the last 8 at a major. One of the things de Minaur has been working on is body strength, employing a new fitness trainer as he prepares for the Australian Open in Melbourne on 18th January. He said he is ultimately trying to get bigger and stronger and just keep on improving. De Minaur secured 1 title last season in Washington, adding to his 9 other career victories. Australia faced the Czech Republic and Norway at the Mixed Teams United Cup, which is also being played in Perth. And that wraps up World Today. In our top story, Ukraine peace deal edging closer, but thorny issues remain. Tune in to Malaysia Tonight, coming up at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and Saluran Berita RTM. I'm Mohana Priya. Salam Malaysia Madani. Have a great day.